Well, to discuss this, I'm joined now here in the studio by Saudi and Gulf Affairs expert Mohamed al Qubaiban. In Allendale, Massachusetts is Gamal Gasim. He's an associate professor of Middle East Studies and Political Science at Grand Valley State University. And Ibrahim Qatabi is a political analyst and human rights advocate. He's also the co-founder of the Yemeni American Coalition for Change, a group that wanted the end of Ali Abdullah Saleh's presidency. Interesting to find out what your current views are right now, Ibrahim. Let me start with you, though, Mohamed al Qubaiban. It seems as if the UAE is pulling out of Yemen, winding down. Has this come as a surprise to you?
This is not true. Are they pulling out? No. The reality is we have to look at it as a military actions. Okay, if the source you've heard. I did not find who is the official one talked about that the UAE forces are redeploying back. But
they've directly quoted, officials have directly been quoted that they're shifting from a military-first strategy to a peace-first strategy. And the best available evidence on the ground has shown that they are moving their own troops out and prefer to empower their allies on the ground, whoever that might be, militias and so on.
It doesn't come up with the military to the peace while there is another military action is going on. We are a coalition. You get my point?
Right.
So it has to be all in one flow, or either in the wartime or in the peacetime.
So that's why I'm asking you, is it a surprise that they are making these moves?
But again, what I'm saying is the official person, I contacted many UAE friends. Okay, nobody told me who's he. But we look at the picture, how is it? So what's happening exactly, what I thought, that now it's the time for the national army in Yemen to take over. Honestly, we've heard some noises or some voices coming out that there is no enough support from the coalitions. We've been stopped from moving forward towards Sana'a, toward other places. So honestly, what I was looking for is this time where they take over the fight. First, reason why we need to stop the UN intervene, because if it's Yemeni conflict, I think that they have the right to go and fight. Either let's say the international community will go with their vision, or they have the right to fight against who is kidnapped their area.
Okay, so, but just coming back to the beginning, do you believe that the UAE is now leaving?
Not exactly, sir. It's repositioning.
Repositioning. Strategic and tactical.
Yeah, and as you heard, that they are having almost 90,000 soldiers being trained to take over, so there will be no vacuum.
I see.
So this, and by the way, this being well coordinated with the army and with the coalitions, the headquarter coalition. So, and this, by the way,
but you're saying well coordinated. We're at a point where high estimates say 100,000 people have died. We have 250,000 people who are displaced. We have millions of people in need of food aid. And one of the key partners of the coalition is making moves to leave. It doesn't sound like things are well coordinated. It sounds like they're cutting and running.
No, sir, it's not this way. I mean, we've been working with the UAE forces and the coalition. I'm still saying it as a coalition, close contact to each other. So repositionings, I think it is one of the military tactics.
Okay.
And the reason for that, what I'm saying is, we need the Yemeni's national army to take over and just to keep the support. This will help more, what I believe, political-wise, for the conflict to be over.
Gamal Gasim, what do you think is going on here? Are we seeing a split between Riyadh and Abu Dhabi when it comes to how they handle this war?
Thank you first for having me in your show. And I think I might disagree with my brother Ibrahim on that this is just like a matter of tactic. I think maybe United Arab Emirates is seeing something that, about its involvement in the war that Saudi Arabia may not agree with. I think United Arab Emirates is drawing down its troops in South Yemen, especially in seaports such as Makha and Al Khouka. And now we have seen actually in the last few days that Saudi forces are trying to replace the Emirati forces in these areas. So from the very beginning of the war, we have seen that United Arab Emirates almost has different kind of political goals when it comes to its involvement in Yemen. Unlike Saudi Arabia, which is more concerned about the rise of the Houthis and the Iranian threat to its national security from Yemen, coming from Yemen, we have seen that United Arab Emirates has almost different political goals.
Okay,
United
and what
Arab
are
Emirates
they?
from the
Jamal,
very beginning, from day one.
Sorry to interrupt you, right? Just to be absolutely clear, what are those goals? Do they support the southern separatists? Is that the main issue here?
Yes, to support the southern separatists. Actually, United Arab Emirates from day one and work very diligently to undermine the government of the legitimate government of President Hadi. They supported the secessionist movement. You know, the 90,000 troops that my friend, Ibrahim mentioned. I'm not sure if they are parts of the national Yemeni army. It seems to me like these are the militia they trained in the south parts.
Right.
And this is basically creating more political instability and security instability in the south. In addition to their ambition to take over some of the important Yemeni islands like Socotra, which actually resulted in the resignation of the former Prime Minister Ahmed bin Dagar.
Okay, and just a point of clarity, the man who was speaking earlier was Mohamed al Qubaiban, who's in studio with me. Ibrahim Qatabi, I'm going to go to him now. Ibrahim, is Jamal accurate? Is he saying that fundamentally... No problem. Is he accurate in saying that fundamentally the Emiratis and the Saudis, while they both don't like the Houthis, they both don't like Iranian influence, they both broadly maybe support the Hadi government. As the war has ticked along, they have developed very different interests here, and now we're seeing that play out. Is that what's happening?
So just to be clear, what's happening in the southern part of Yemen, where the Saudi-led coalition, the Saudi UAE-led coalition is controlling or occupying, is that, one, what they did, they only using the legitimate government card as a cover-up. They're not doing anything to support the legitimate government. In fact, they're doing the complete opposite. So when the Emiratis officials are talking about training 90,000 soldiers, what they really saying, they actually trained many local militias all across the south under the name of the Southern Transitional Council. And that's a complete disaster, not only for Yemenis, but also for the region security and peace. So the thing is what's happening since the beginning of the war in 2015 is that instead of the coalition helping the Yemeni government to go back to what are called today the liberated land, what they did the complete opposite. They trained local militias to undermine the government itself. They occupied the Yemeni lands, airports and seaports, and also the islands. The Socotra Island, one of the most strategic island, in the Arabian Sea, is controlled right now by the Saudi Arabia and the UAE, but not the Yemeni forces. There is a serious problem here that needs to be exposed. One, all across the south, what they did, I'm talking about the UAE and the Saudi coalition, create secret detention, support the separators to take over the south. And just to be clear, they're not helping people in the south so they can gain a southern state. They supporting them to undermine the legitimate government, but at the same time, so they can stay occupying that strategic location in the world. Yemen is in a geopolitical strategic location, which is exactly what they're trying to occupy.
Okay, Mohamed al Qubaiban.
30 seconds, just 30 seconds. Ibrahim, nice to see you, by the way, and Jamal, both of you, nice to see you both. Ibrahim, now the conflict has been almost 4 years, okay? Don't tell me that with whatever help that the coalition did, there was nothing in favor of the government or for the Yemeni side. Now, some goals has to be changed. Some goals has to be changed due to the change of the strategic, let's say, rise in the country. Now, I don't agree with you with that the Saudis and the Emirates looking to separate Yemen both sides. No, sir. What I'm saying, the military act is now taking over. Leave the political side. If the UAE did not train, and if the Saudis not support, and by the way, it's by approval by the Yemen, we will see a complete disaster in the southern side. You knew the Al-Qaeda was there. You knew, sir, Daesh is built up. But what I thought that the UAE trying to terminate what's happening due to the conflict.
Okay. But,
so what I'm saying,
Mohammed, isn't it already a disaster? You're saying if they weren't there, it would be a disaster. I mean, we're looking at the facts here. This is
no, sir. This is a war. I agree with you.
Right.
There is, by the way, the conflict inside the Yemenis themselves did not help that we get over with the war. Due to some parties, they want to take over. And I'm not saying that the Yemenis they are not happy with the case. No, they are all unhappy, and we are not happy too. We see the rise of the Iran arms in the area, so it's getting difficult. But right now, what I'm saying, I don't agree with Ibrahim when he's saying that the militia is being built by the UAE. Right. Sir, there is a couple of ministers talked about that if those military trained are not in ground, it will be a real disaster due to the conflict. Due to it's a chaos.
Sure, Al Qaeda is there, Daesh is there as well.
So it's a chaos.
But they're saying that these are militiamen who aren't necessarily good for the security of the South. Let me bring in Ibrahim to respond.
Militia word itself, shouldn't be mentioned there. Militia is people not having a green light. All UN is against, all legal country is against word militia. So militia is a bad word, in fact.
Ibrahim, these are not militias, these are legitimate fighters. Respond.
First of all, that's a misleading argument. The government itself know that these militias are outside the legitimate government and the forces locally. And beside the point, I don't think they're there to fight the Iranians and the Houthis. That there is evidence that they no longer fight in the Houthis and the Iranians and Yemen. So it's not true that they're there to basically fight them. What do you see right now today all across the country is that the militias that are supported or loyal to the UAE and Saudi Arabia is stopped at the former borders between the north and the south. So they no longer fight. Second, if you're there to help the Yemenis, you're supposed to lift up the blockade. You know, every day the Yemeni plane, civilian plane, is trying to land, and the Yemeni land, and they wouldn't authorize the Yemeni plane to land in its own land. It's not allowed. They're not doing anything to help Yemenis coming in and outside the country. The government itself, the president 5 years later is still detained in Saudi Arabia. The whole entire cabinet is outside the country. So tell me, if you have supported local even the military, why the entire government is still outside the country 5 years later since the beginning of the war? Okay. This is the nonsense, misleading
let's get Mohammed to respond
argument.
To that. Mohammed?
Yeah, remember, sir, we ceased fire due to the Sweden agreement, okay? And everybody agreed that let's terminate fire. As far as what Ibrahim was saying, the fight was stopped. So that's step one. Step two, we have to give it a time. I mean, it's not only stop firing, stop fight.
We're not a trial. We're not going to wait 10 years for them to do a complete...
Hold on. Mohammed's going to finish his point, and then Jamal can come in.
What I'm saying is the Hudaydah agreement or the Sweden agreement plays a big role there. Okay, the case or the situation of the civilians is a real disaster, and we know what is the Houthis are doing with the foods, with the fuel, with the medicine. So I think what decisions being made is good and strategic decision to cool down the fight to see what's going on. Now these days we see there is the communication or the meetings start today. I think they went down the sea, and they have a meeting with Mr. the two-star general, and they will reestablish the speech regarding the Sweden agreement. This is number one. For the government detains and what people are saying, Honestly, I don't recommend that the government goes to Yemen in this situation.
Okay.
I agree.
I would love
this
to ask
is for
Hadi
the
himself.
safety. Yes, sir.
I would love to ask Hadi himself. What
You
do
knew,
think?
sir.
Right.
Though whatever it is, the security is not being established yet. And it's important for their safety and for their security. And you knew the Iranians are looking for any chance that happens to the government. Right away, they will explode those chances.
Okay, let me get Jamal to
real
come in.
Disaster.
Okay, Jamal, come in.
I would like to respond to Mohammed's points about, this is not militias, this is part of the unifying army, actually. They are not under direct command from the unified Yemeni army. So this, we all know that these are just militias built to basically advance the causes of the secessionist movement in the south. But we need also to be fair that United Arab Emirates in South Yemen, or in Yemen in general, is different from Saudi Arabia. As it says, Saudi Arabia came to eliminate the Iranian threat, to eliminate the Houthis, the Houthis' control of Sana'a. Also, by not allowing the government of President Hadi to come back to Aden, regardless of the security situation there, it is a government, of war. It should be, running the country from the grounds of these, war zones in Yemen. It cannot be running the war or running, the government from
Jamal,
Saudi Arabia.
The position has nothing to do with it. Jamal, just 1 second. Position has nothing to do with it. We are in sophisticated communication when they can talk. No, I didn't think so. This is a valid point. But what I'm saying regarding the militia, Jamal, we knew who's the militia. Hezbollah is militia. Houthis is militia. Al-Hashd al-Sha'bi back in Iraq. Those are the militia. When you say the Emirates making militia, they will have a penalty from the whole international. So we have to be careful. You could say they trained some Yemenis. They work for the coalition. I may buy this war.
You are creating more warlords in Yemen actually than solving the problem. I will tell you, if this war is stopped now, Yemen is going to be basically in a total civil war because you are creating different militias. It is not under unified command, military command.
No, who said so?
No, it's supposed to be under the leadership of Hadi because he's the commander-in-chief.
They are well trained. The
weapons
they have is being transferred with the factories, with the government provided the weapons. So they are not militias. I completely disagree with you. Making a lord of the war, again, maybe Jamal, I completely disagree, share with you with your ideas.
If you look,
the situation in Yemen, especially in the southern part. Let me finish.
The
Jamal, 1 second.
in the south are not under the direct control and the direct command
Mohamed
of
al
President
Qubaiban,
Hadi.
you believe, so Mohamed al Qubaiban believes that they cannot be, Jamal, Mohamed al Qubaiban believes that they cannot be under the direct control of Hadi right now because that's not where we're at in the war right now. And got it.
Yes,
point
sir.
noted. Point noted.
Yes,
Let me just wrap things up here because we're out of time. This is an interesting discussion and interesting development. And it's the first time in a while that we've had this discussion, which isn't purely coalition on the one hand and Houthi on the other. This looks at cracks within those who support Hadi. And I think this is a fascinating development, and we're going to have more discussions about this as we move forward. But for the moment, I have to wrap up, and I have to thank you all, gentlemen. Mohamed al Qubaiban, Gamal Gasim, and Ibrahim Qatabi. Thanks for joining us on the Newsmakers.